Y hola raza, estamos aquí en Radio Chicanismo con tu compa Chico González, hoy en una entrevista aquí con Aztlán Underground de Los Ángeles. Why don't we introduce ourselves and then we'll get started, homies.
All right. I'm Bulldog, MC, Aztlán Underground, beat maker, long time ago. Anyway, next.
Dale, Joe.
I'm Yout, vocalist, and do a little percussion here and there, and glad to be here, Chico. Gracias.
Yo.
I'm Joe Galarza, bass player. I also do flutes, textural aspects to it, and so on.
Cacho.
Saludos, I'm Cacho. I carry the equipment and sweep after everyone's done. Now,
Es el que trae las dudas.
yeah, no, I play some drums and just whatever they have me do. Thank you.
Stop. Stop, bro. Stop.
We also have the compas from Chicano Records and Film. Cesar, do you want to introduce yourself?
How's it going, Cesar? I DJ for Aztlán Underground and also play percussions and also organizing with Chicano Records and Film, XRF.
Cool. Bulldog and Yaur, I know that you're the veteranos of the group. You guys want to talk a little bit about how the group came to be, like the year, where, and all that?
Yeah. Bean, who also was one of the founding members, who's no longer in the group. He's supportive. He even likes the new release. He's all proud of us. Bean and I, we actually started we doing danza in like the mid '80s, and then Public Enemy came out, and we just were inspired to try to talk about using hip hop, bridging the ancient with the modern, and so we started to try to mess around with the idea of doing a group. So him and I, we actually started with I used to be in a punk band called Iconoclast, and the vocalist, the second vocalist Don, and also the drummer was in the first incarnation of what was to become Aztlán Underground. And at first, we called ourselves ESL, Escuche Sonidos Lógicos, after English as a second language, to try to empower, bilingual and being bicultural, if you will, because we were in the process of decolonizing, and we still are. And so Bean and I, we got invited to up north, and we jammed after we started with Iconoclast. We got into battles over identity, and so and then that dissolved, and then Bean and I continued, and we hooked up with this dude called the Mexican Poet, and during that time, we were called Brown and Proud. By that time, we were called Brown and Proud, and we used to do things with Gavilan up there through KPFA Berkeley, and we did the Chicano moratorium, pre-moratorium to the 20-year anniversary, and but that kind of dissolved, and there was just drama. But Bean and I were like looking for Bean and I back in our punk new wave days. We'd always go to Bulldog's house like on Christmas, because somehow we'd always end up at Bulldog's house on Christmas Day, like in the evening. And so it's a trip. So we knew Bulldog. Bulldog used to be a rude boy, right? Back in the day, he like that ska. He's like that ska. He was the best, man. And so we knew him, and we were looking for somebody that had a computer, right? And so Bulldog was the first homie in the hood who had a computer. He had an Amiga, and it looped, And so Bean and I, Bean tells me, oh, well, I know Frankie. That's what we used to call him back then. Frankie has a has a computer in a loose apparently, so we'll hit him up. And so then we hit him up, and we went over there, and then after chatting up, we started chatting and talking about things. He started sharing how his dad was always very talked about how the history of colonial Mexico here in these areas, and so we started realizing we had a lot of commonalities, and he had already Bulldog had already was working with this group. It was like a Africano white brother, all people that we all grew up with, and there was crying. It was called Extra Stout Posse, right, B-Dog? And yeah.
So I mean, I was trying to do something, and I wanted to do something in music. I knew that I had been a DJ prior, and that's how I really kind of knew Bean. I mean, I knew I grew up with his sisters. Their sisters that were in my classes, everything. So I knew them very well, his younger sisters. And I started DJing, like I was like 16, and I was DJing, and I was a cocky dude, back then. I guess I'm still a little, but
That's why it's called Bulldog.
I just, I hit up his brother who was DJing at the club that I used to go to, and I was like, hey man, you need to learn how to actually DJ. And he was the man. He was doing the stuff. Anyway, so we hooked up because we lived very close to each other, just like blocks away from each other. He goes, well, I'll come by and check you out. So we did. Anyway, that's how Bean and I had this kind of connection, but I didn't really know Bean. And I don't know if you remember this, y'all, but we ended up going to a club together. And that's when I think was kind of the spark, because we were talking about hip hop and the relevance, I think, of Public Enemy and KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions. And I don't know if you remember that, but he was DJing that club. It was an Irish bar. Do you remember that?
Hip-hop bar. Yeah.
So that was the night.
And Everlast too, DJ right there.
Yeah,
too, right?
Yeah. And Terry B was up in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was the night that we started, like, really, I think, really connecting and
vibing.
Like, let's get together and do something, because I had bought a drum machine, I had a computer, and I was trying to get it going, and my boys were lagging, so I was like, I'm down to help you guys out. And I had already been sampling, I don't know if you remember this, y'all, but I had been sampling the news, and I was cutting up like Reagan talking and making these kind of collages of stuff, because I took it off of VHS tapes, and I cut up all this like political stuff from the news that I recorded off of regular TV. And that's how I think I probably showed that to you. You're like, oh yeah, let's do something, and we connected. Yeah, like I said before, or recently, he woke something up in me, and that was the fact that, I was already proud. I was extremely proud of being Mexican, and I had, I always felt like I had to fight for that because I was half white, and I got, bullied and called white boy, whatever, as a young boy, but I always stood up for who I was. I always believed in that, because my father told me, he goes, this is, you're on Mexican land right here. And when Yao and I had that first conversation, it was like a spark, and I'm like, wow, this is something even better than what I was trying to do, because this has some meaning to it. But you know, Yao woke up the fact that, you know, we're indigenous, and you know, he made that connection for me, and that took it even further. And you know, the rest is kind of history. We started from there, and you could take it from there.
So, so one of the things that I know is that you guys have been putting it down for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So, what year are we talking about right here?
So like it was between like 88 and 90. So it must have been around 89 when we started like actually vibing out like that, 88, 89. And then by 90s when we changed our name from Brown and Proud to Asa Underground with when we really crystallized our who we were, because as we started vibing out and going to his house, and like he says, yeah, he was like bringing in samples, and it reminded me of Crash. You know, Crash is a punk band. And I was like, hell yeah, like that's what's up. And then as we were talking, you know, it was like we're vibing it, and already like as mind wise, we're like totally like vibing out, right? And then I always remember this because we'd never heard him flow, right? And already previously, I joked about this the other night, is that Bean was trying to kick me out because Don, the second singer of Iconoclast, who was one of the other MCs when Bean and I first tried to start it out, he was a dope MC. Like he was like he was a dope singer, and he was a dope MC too. And he has that he had that candy, but Bulldog's even like another level of candy, like ear candy. And also, because I wrote this piece, and I remember that he turned around and he just busted this piece, and I was like, that's like sugar, man. That's like, I was like, look at being like, oh my God, this, what the heck? Like, it was just like a beautiful thing. And me, you know, I come from punk rock origins, so I was more, and I still am, you know, I'm more guttural, you know, ethereal. I'm not like, you know, I don't have that that part of, you know, that's not my forte, but that's what makes, I think, Bulldog and I really, you know, like we just feed off each other, like, you know what I mean? We're like that team that just, you know, like Funk and Fury, you know what I mean? Like, and he's the Funk and I'm the Fury, so it just was a great combination. And like, and I was telling this that like we wouldn't even be where we are without his, you know, you know, he's
No, like you guys complement each other like really well, you know, like it's like totally opposites, but when you guys come together, it's like powerful, bro. And the reason that I asked about the year is because I want the audience to know that this is before like Kid Frost, before Gerardo, and before, you know, that was the first time that we saw like Raza look like us, like an MTV and shit, you know?
Yeah.
You guys were Rico Suave beforehand.
Yeah, Rico Suave. So you know what I'm saying? So like I want people to know and realize that you guys are Chicano, like, you know, hip hop pioneers, right? And just to get took it a little step further by, like, you know, like not only like doing it in English and Spanish, but also including like a lot of like indigenismo, like the flutes and all that. And I think like me as a young Chicano in the mid '90s, when I first heard you guys, I was like, fuck, you know, that's the soundtrack to the work that I'm doing. So let's go full force, you know. And I think like for a lot of machistas, I'm getting like goosebumps, bro. That's how powerful it is, because, you know, when we were like trying to find our identity, you guys were like actually voicing it. And I think that's really, really powerful. So talk a little bit about your first album and how that came to be, and maybe Chicano Records and Film. And then, like, you know, we can bring like Joe into the picture and Cacho. I don't know if you guys were involved in the first album, but I know that for sure you guys were involved in the second one, right? So like, let's talk a little bit about the first album. Tell me the name. And one of my all-time Underground favorite songs is there. My Blood is Red. That song is like, you know, powerful. So I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about that, and then, you know, we'll include the rest of the crew and talk about Chicano Records and Film.
It's actually a cassette, right, B-Dog?
Yeah, well, the very first Asan Underground recording is a cassette, and it had 1492 Fuck That, and Browns Against Browns, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, man. And
it was a very,
yeah.
very first recording. And we were blessed to actually meet Alvaro Huerta, and he basically got us going in the right direction. Like he made us kind of focus on the music as a business, and helped us, organize to get the seed money to actually put that cassette together. And
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Like we started doing where we live in San Fernando Valley, and it was a just a desert culturally, hard to explain. I mean, there was, cruisers, and there was that kind of vibe, but there was nowhere to perform what we were trying to do. And so we ended up, because I was a machista, like as of 1988, and then into 91, we had a lot of student connections. So where we were embraced with open arms was like in East LA College, right? So and that's also how we crossed paths with Alvaro, with Valo. And he, like Bulldog said, he was like, they were like, yo man, you gotta um we need a fundraise. And we did our fundraiser for the cassette. Like I came across a old flyer, like almost looks like handwritten, like it's all punk rock, like on it. And it totally, like, it's all help, us on underground raise money. And we did. People showed up, and we hadn't even recorded yet, and they raised the money. The community raised the money in East LA. That's why a lot of people think we're from East LA, but we're really from the Valley. But because we actually were embraced by East LA before anybody, in LA. You know what I mean? And
right.
yeah, right. And yeah, ELAC,
You were a
So
machista there, no? You were an ELAC machista?
No.
No?
No. Y'all was from Cal State North.
CSUN. I was CSUN. I was from CSUN,
That's your
and I was
chair.
the chair. Yeah, so I was the chair during the time I was in it. You know what I mean? And but it just it was a great time. And yeah, and Valo, they're the ones that actually made the design the first, through his brother Salomon. Was we did the cassette October 12, 1492, Browns Against Browns. And it was designing of the drawing of the cassette, which ended up being our t-shirt, which ended up like selling a lot of t-shirts. We crossed the borders crossed us. And so that generated a lot of money and a lot of support to get us going, and enabled us to get to 95, and where we released Decolonize. And that was a pretext to Decolonize being released. And so it was but it was been a great trajectory. And then Richard Montoya embraced us, and it's a trip, because I sometimes I Google, I try to research where we're documented in online, like where we're, and researching us, like it's a trip. There's an article by Luis Rodriguez that in 1992, this revolutionary, like it's a trip. Like we were getting a buzz, back then, and starting to get in people's consciousness. And that's where Richard Montoya Culture Clash had us do the what was that gig, with Rage. It was with Rage, was Cypress Hill. Remember
Top Local.
Big Top
Big Top
Locals?
Yeah,
Yeah, Big Top Locals, exactly. So, and that and that was like a lot of we were, and because of that, we were actually, Eazy-E was there, and Eazy-E, we were about to hook up with Eazy-E in early '95, because he was interested in wanting to put out a Public Enemy that was Chicano, because he was all about about that, about connecting with brown folk, right?
Mhm.
So, but then he died, like so early in '95. It's a trip, but we were almost gonna connect with him. A lot of things like that, interesting things back then. But then we
I know that he signed Kid Frost to the label, right? Around this time.
yeah, around that time, yeah, and because we had um connects with the beat, it was Dominic DePrima that was telling us that was, that he was like interested in meeting up and stuff. It was a trip, and but regardless, we had connected with a beat producer of Mexican descent, Jordan Liggett, who he's actually Tongva Shoshone, and that's what his DJ name was, DJ Shoshone, and we had already set like a skeleton between Bulldog and myself and being of a lot of what came to be decolonized, and so we had set the sample structures, but but Jordan Liggett, Shoshone, he really crystallized what became decolonized, but anyway, but getting back to your question about Chicano Records, the 1992 cassette said Chicano Records.
Mhm.
By 95 it was still Chicano Records, but after that year is when we added the F, when we connected with after our Zapatista encounter, and we went to Chiapas, um, and we were inspired by them. That's why we tried to make it a bigger collective, and we called it XRF. But that's another part of the story. But anyway, that's '95 is when we released, Decolonized, and it was a beautiful event the way it happened, and unfortunately, Shoshone, we don't we don't have no contact with him, but
Mhm.
he's a great producer, and we always thank him
Yes.
for everything he did,
Yeah.
for us,
I mean,
And
he,
the cover page, the cover to that album is like powerful, right? Is that you were talking about like the cover of the cassette. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I own that shirt, and the slogan in the back. I mean, that in itself was like a big ass statement back in the day, right? We didn't cross the border crossed us. And I think that your band had a lot of influence in disseminating that message that we picked up for like marches and stuff like that. But the like the cover I was talking about to Frank about the cover for Decolonize, with the cholos on top of the horses, like spearing the pigs.
hmm
Can you talk a little bit about that, because I think that it's a powerful image, like who's the artist and
well, uh, actually, we we used to meet at the home of the sister of Valo and Solomon Huerta and Alvaro Huerta. So their family was actually very involved in XRF in the beginning, and so we used to meet there. And like Valo had us locked down. Like he's like, we're doing this every Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it was, and we're meeting at this time. Anyway, um, that that painting was uh, well, to hear Valo and Salo talk about it. Um, Solomon recently on Facebook Live or something, he explained that painting he did for us, um, and that the three cholos represent the three guys in the band, um, and obviously the pig is the pig, um, represents the police or the establishment, and so it was, I don't know, yeah, how did that actually, um, I mean, who suggested, was it Valo that suggested that painting be the cover?
yeah. I mean, it's a trip because that's the understanding that I had back then, right? But as you mentioned, one of uh, the galleries that support Salomon Huerta interviewed him about it, and he says that he did the piece for us, and that's a trip, because, like, I thought that Valo suggested it, but he
Yes.
said, as you saw in the Instagram piece, that he's like, I wrote this for I painted this for a group that that I was working with back in the day, blah blah blah, and it represents everything that they were talking about, and, like, it's a trip, man. And so who knew, that was actually like a synchronicity of that, you know what I mean? Like,
Not only that, but it's one of those images that's still relevant 25 years later, right? And it's something that we're dealing with, and something that we're going to be talking in a little bit. But I would like to bring the other brothers from Aslan Underground so they can talk to us about how they got into and everything. And I want to start with Joe. He's on my top left, and I remember like seeing Joe like at the concerts, and I was like drawn to him. With his futuristic Chicano like Mad Max and shit. It was tight, right? It was like a Chicano Zapatista Mad Max, But I don't know if you want to talk to us about that, Joe. But powerful, man. You on the bass and setting the tempo for the band. It was powerful. And I know that you're also a very talented artist. So let's talk a little bit about how you joined the band and your politica maybe.
Wow, let me see. How do I start? We were all part of this location, which was called the PRC, the Popular Resource Center. Within, as it started, I'm sure it started a little bit before me, but within '93, I will go there because one of my friends as well was living with Zach De La Rocha at the time. He was Raul Baltazar. He was doing art at the time, and all the movement that was going on at that moment when they're trying to spark up the moment or the movement and the momentum of the movement. He came and remembered me what I was doing at the time, because prior to that movement starting, at least for myself and in my life, I was part of a resistance, which is called Big Mountain Resistance, in Arizona, fighting for land issues at the time against CIA, FBI that was trying to force relocate the Diné Navajo peoples. So I was part of that movement at that time, and I started doing art, kind of focusing on land issues that were happening around me and what I was looking at and seeing around me at the time, because they were trying to force relocate the Diné peoples out of their natural land that they feel that their umbilical cords are buried in that land. Their ancestors are buried in that land, and they're being forced relocated to take the uranium underneath their land, right? So they caused this conflict among the Hopi and Navajo. And so we will go there to protect the elders because they're trying to force relocate them to a different high radiated area that was causing deformities and cancer among the indigenous peoples there. So I came from that, and then he came one day to my house and kind of like approached me like, "Hey man, you gotta come over here, man. Like there's a lot of stuff going on over here, and it's kind of starting up right now. You should be part of this." And so I stepped into the PRC, which I ran into a lot of old friends that I thought I would never run into. Like, I don't know, again, I kind of went to school with Quetzal, at the time. We went to high school together. A couple other friends, like brothers from Moline, the twins, as well as Tito and all of them. We went to school together. We were punks together at the time, And so it was pretty interesting of like all the groups and bands that were starting to spark at that area. And so one day I think I met Rudy through, which is our ex-drummer, through Raul. And he asked me to participate in this Zapatista awareness kind of event that they were having. So I stepped in, and I think that's where I ended up meeting Yout. And we, during performance, he asked me to sing a native song, you know. So I sang a song, and Rudy's like, "Hey man, y'all wants to help like in that way," and then I was like, "Cool man, let him step in, you know, and let's do this, you know." And so we kind of met performing as well, you know, before we were in the band as well. And so we participated in that event. He helped me do the drum. He brought the heartbeat in the mix, you know, into the song and everything. And then we kept going about what we were doing, the movement at the time, you know, and we kind of like hit and miss a little bit, you know. But then he somehow, I remembered him because he would step into a ceremonial circle that I was part of, and he showed up with another brother that was doing ceremony with us as well. And I remember he yelled like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And like he started talking again. And then somehow he heard that I played bass as well, and he's like, "Hey, bro, like I have a band, man. Are you down to step on the bass?" You know? And I was like, "Oh shit, man! Like I haven't played bass in 3 years." I was like focusing on more of my art, you know, painting and drawing and doing like political work and so on through painting and so on. And I just decided like, all right, man, I'm down, you know, like now I'll pick up the bass again. And we ended up meeting, and it was me, Rudy, Yout, Bean, and Bulldog, you know, together at the time. And we and Yout already had some songs written at the time in the moment, you know. He's also a bass player as well. Like people that don't know, you know, he plays, you know, bass for Iconoclast, and he's been playing bass, I'm sure, longer than me and so on, you know. And so he brought out like Obsolete Man, you know, the bass line to Obsolete Man, and so that was one of the first kind of songs that we started kind of like working with, you know, and working on. That's before the Rudy's brothers started stepping in, which is Bobby on guitar, you know, and so we started kind of trying to concretely kind of like solidify that bass line and really like get the groove going and then the lyrical content. And then that's when Rudy decided like, "Hey bro, like I got my brother, he's a great guitar player, like I can bring him in and let's see where that steps in and how that shifts things and so on." So then that's just where things started kind of progressing with the band, and as well as they already had an existing like following as well prior to me coming in. And I think also prior, quote me if I'm wrong, Yout, I mean, I did the In the Red performance, you know, and I think that's where Yout remembered me as well. Before, yeah. I think we ended up performing together actually. So kind of rewind in a way that I did the performance, a performance art with this. It was a collective of artists and music and everything, and it was In the Red that I did one of my first performance art, man. And I'm not really good at performance art at the time, and I always said to myself, like, I'll never do a performance art again in my life because it was just a place that I found myself like really vulnerable, you know. And I ended up doing like we did a tropical a rendition of Tropico America from Siqueiros. You know, I was crucified. I was painted all in gold. I had my braids going on when I had hair, you know, and todo, you know. And so when Yout, I think, remembers me, he goes, "Hey, you're that golden brother, bro. What's up?" Because he remembered me like slamming in the pit, and all gold, you know. And he's like, "What the hell is up with this?"
And this is the mural at Placito Olvera, right?
Yes, the one that got whitewashed, right? But we did like a performance art about that, right? And a rendition of what we felt within this time, and so on. But it was our own version of it, but it was still, of course, like, you know, like really taking his idea as well. You know, he was a big inspiration through art as well, you know.
And this is around the time that Subversives was coming into being?
This was like mid 93 going into 94.
And when did Subversives came?
So because what'd you say?
The second album, was it around this time that you guys were getting ready? Because I know Obsolete Man is in that album, right? In the second one.
Yeah. So 98 is when we recorded Subversives, but 94 we had started already kind of like doing live stuff. Started, you know, writing music. So by the time or the idea was happening, and when we released Decolonize, we'd already been going towards that idea of being a live band, you know. So but also but also with regards to Joe, it's a trip. Rudy, which I don't know where he's at. Like I don't know where he's at. The drummer. I hope he's all right. When we met on stage, he told me it's interesting to hear Joe's side of it because that Rudy told him that I wanted to because Rudy told me, yo, this native brother needs a drum, man. Like needs someone to play a drum. Like what? And I was like panicking. I'm like, what? Like, when? Like right now. I'm like right now. And
Oh, good.
I'm all right. All right. Like okay. I'm down. I'm down. Thank you. Thank you for even thinking of me to do this. So then I'm like, well, what I do? And then I come up to him. What I do? He's like, do a heartbeat, brother. You do a heartbeat. In his Comanche voice, you do a heartbeat, bro.
Yeah, was he he was like a big dude with a mohawk?
No,
Rudy?
Yeah.
Rudy. No.
The drummer or no?
Yeah, the drummer.
That was Ace, I think you're
Okay.
talking about.
Yeah,
He had
yeah.
a mohawk, right? He had a mohawk.
Yeah.
You pinned himself like a skull, actually.
Yeah.
That's Ace.
Okay.
That's a drummer after Rudy, actually.
Rudy, actually, he's a big reason why we kind of went the band route.
Right.
He lived at the PRC. He lived there with Zach, and we used to go down there and hang out. And Rudy would. Zach had a little like setup inside this tiny little room. Had some drums and a bass. I don't know if there was a guitar in there, but there were turntables. Or Beam would actually bring his turntables, and we started messing around with Rudy playing live drums. And we would jam out sometimes with Zach, and Zach would be on the drums, or he'd be playing bass or whatever.
And we're
And that
talking
kind
about Zach de la Rocha, right? From
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of sparked, the whole live band thing, and Yao being the multi talented dude that he is, like Joe was saying, he had Obsolete Man already written, basically, because that song is all bass line. That's the backbone of it. And anyway, so that was that period, and then obviously we ended up hooking up with Joe, and then kind of crystallizing around Joe and Rudy initially, and then it just we just started writing music and playing live. We tried that. What was our first live performance, yeah? You remember?
With Gacho, that's where Gacho comes in. No que no, right?
No. Well, yeah, actually, No Que No was one of the first, but wasn't it? Tell me if I'm wrong, but that John Trudell show that we did in Ventura. John Trudell, bro. I felt that was like one of my first performances.
Yeah, because I think we only had like 2 live songs that we were confident in, huh?
Yes. So Now We Orlean and Obsolete Man.
Yeah, and then but by the time we did No Que No, we had like a whole set. That's what happened.
Okay, so that was the first show was with John Trudell.
Trudell. Damn, that's dope. Oh, wow.
So let's bring Cacho into the picture since you already brought him. So what's up, Cacho?
Hello, saludos. Hello, everybody.
Jale.
Aquí nomás. Well, I'd see these guys play. I'd play in other bands that were, kind of doing the similar thing, like looking for their own identity and their own voice around the same time, I came from the East Los metal and punk scene, but not the original 70s one, like more like late 80s, early 90s, kind of a thing, like Macondos from in like the the downtown area and like no que no, like the way Joe was saying. I was more like I was really like, all I was really interested, honestly, in doing with music was playing backyard scenes. That's honestly, that's where I've always felt more comfortable and more myself. You know, like you know, we play with bands like like Misled and Full Force, Strength in Numbers. Like this is a scene that honestly like kind of got forgotten with time. You hear a lot about the 70s punk, East LA punk bands, and you hear about the now, you know, because they've made like a documentary on the like the late 90s to, you know, 2000s millennial kind of punk bands, but these you didn't hear that much about. And that's where, honestly, that's where my heart kind of lied, you know. But what Aslan Underground and groups like Quinto Sol and OMD and we're doing in the colleges and in the clubs, you know, groups like the ones I used to play in, like the Sacrifico and Contraataque and Subsistencia, we're doing in the backyards, you know, and Subsistencia more like community centers and stuff. And I think some of those guys, I mean, I had seen, we I guess we played with like Yat was saying, with Aslan Underground, like this was what, like 95 or something.
Yeah, it was
You know,
95. I don't
yeah,
know, it was 95, yeah.
I think there's, I don't know, I think there was still like DJ and two MCs and Joe on flutes. It blew me away. Like you know, we're still the you know, that loud yelling band, you know, about, you know, don't let our culture die, and you know, looking for our identity. But Joe and them, like they were, you know, they would bring out like opal and on a shell and you know and burn it and you know just set like an aura, you know, and it was beautiful to see. And so we, you know, it's, you know, kind of see them from afar and stuff until I think once we played with them and we got it, we little by little, I guess playing in backyards, we started getting invited to shows like you know, where community centers would were around, like um what, I guess the PRC and all these other places where there was more like backyards were more like, you know, like people getting drunk and you know, just still like having things to say, you know. We I with the bands that I played with, it was like, let's give them a voice, let's give them the microphone, let's them have to say what they had to say, because they're just, you know, they're not like you know, they're not like politically motivated, they're not like you know, went to, you know, took Chicano studies in community college or anything, you know. They were just like, you know, like hardworking kids who are just trying to figure themselves out you know, in the streets, you know, and they're still like confused, they're still like, you know, like fighting and still like you know, just on the raw end, you know. So you know, that's where we felt our thing was to, you know, to give them the microphone, have them like express themselves and so forth, you know. And just, but little by little, you know, just seeing what Yao, Bulldog, and Joe were doing, and that whole thing going around, they just had a way of saying it that was better than I could say it. You know, I guess they were just saying it on a different level, and I just thought I'd back them up. You know, you know, just back them up in that sense, and that's where it started. Um, they asked me around like late 2002 to do a show, and then they had this bigger show going on. They were like, hey, would you at least like play this show? And I was like, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll do that show if you guys play this smaller show at a community center, that was Floricanto, I think it was. And they were like, yeah, let's, we will, of course. I mean, they came from that anyway,
Mm-hmm.
So we did one of those, and then we did that bigger show. It was like I can't remember what it was, but it was just, where there was like probably like 500 kids or more, and
you did the Soul Festival, remember?
and
Yeah,
the Soul
Oh yeah,
Festival,
Soulfest before that. It was Soulfest was
that.
before that. Yeah.
right.
The first time I saw you playing with them was like around 2002 in Berkeley at La Peña. I think that was the first time.
Yeah,
I think that was the first time I saw you on drums.
Órale. Yeah,
Like,
that is-
around that time, whenever you guys will come up to San Francisco, you always make stops, and we were always happy to host you guys here in Sacramento. Joe Style Shop or in Old Sac or wherever we could, right, at Sac State. But it was one of those, right? It was one of those, we used to call them giras rascuaches.
Órale.
Hell yeah.
You came out from LA, and you hit up like Fresno and, the Rudos in Modesto and Sac.
Yeah.
You remember Berkeley,
Yeah.
San Jose, and Macla, and you ended up at La Raza Galería, or La Galería La Raza in San Francisco. But it was always like that. It was like this cultural renaissance that we got to, like, share stages and kick it and get to know each other. But one of the things that you mentioned, Cacho, is you mentioned Quinto Sol. And I remember Quinto Sol was also recorded by Chicano Records and Film, right?
Right.
And a lot of these groups. So maybe it's a good time to bring Cesar into the picture to maybe talk a little bit about, Chicano Records and Film and some of the bands from that era. And one of the things that I like about Pepe is that he was saying is, he went to school with a lot of people that became part of the Chicano explosion, right? Quetzal, Osomatli, Olin. So a lot of bands that came out of LA that provided the music for that movement at that time. So Cesar, I don't know, if you talk a little bit about Chicano Records and Film and how you came into the grupo.
Yeah, XRF kind of, like I was saying, kind of came out of like the philosophy of the Zapatistas. They had gone, also Underground actually had gone down to Chiapas, and they brought that message from the Zapatistas over here. And in LA at that time, there were so many artists, so many musicians that were performing, and they were all conscious. And so we kind of did like an open call to the community and whoever wanted to be down with us. And Quinto Sol was one of the groups, Subsistencia, and my mind's a blank right now. Who else was involved?
White Hawk.
Yeah, we did
Cihuatonali,
Cihuatonali,
In La Quech, Victory, first album.
Yeah, Victory came down, and
Vulcapuli.
El Vu came out of that.
Yeah, we did.
Samari from
Samadi,
Yeah,
that's right.
Samadi.
from San Diego.
San Diego.
Shout out to the Gonzalez's from over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Samadi, Subsistencia.
Yeah, Subsistencia.
Maybe let's talk a little bit about maybe the Farce of July. I know it's been going on for a long time, and a lot of these groups that you're mentioning were like performing and still performing, right? You guys did. I don't know. Did you held the festival this year or no because of COVID?
We
did
did
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Yeah, well, we actually had canceled the event, but we still wanted to do something. So we ended up just doing a march for Black Lives Matter, and it was still a Farce of July, but without the the music and stuff like that, we held a march.
So something really cool that I like about XRF, Chicano Records and Film, is that it also stood for Chicano Revolutionary Front. And I think a lot of us, that we're political and we're still political, that had a lot to say, to encapsulate us, right? So I don't know, would you like to talk a little bit about like how, like why the two names? I mean, it makes sense to me, but for other people that are watching.
There's several names, no, Caesar?
Chicano Revolution.
Yeah, we always just try to make up different acronyms. We have a Chicano Rebel Family too.
Totally.
Yeah, just because really we try to view XRF as a nonprofit, really. A lot of the events that we do, like the Farce of July, you know, this was our 23rd, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, third. Yep, 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd anniversary of doing it, and nonstop. And you know, we also do we used to do the Thanksgiving on actual, like, you know, Thanksgiving Day, but last couple of years we've been collaborating with other organizations, and we've been doing a Red Friday the following day, but it's also in the spirit of a Thanksgiving. So, but with these events, you know, we always try to we never profit off of these events, and we always try to use these shows as a platform for different organizations and raise money for different organizations.
You know, we're talking about old school stuff when I have to bring the CD wallet, bro. I don't know. Remember this no more, you know?
I mean, note that the film part was from Pepe, you know, Pepe Orquico, you know, like
Yeah.
include aspects of Algún Día when he did that film as well, and the película and stuff. So that's where the actual aspect of film came into the picture, right? With Pepe.
Was
Yeah,
Smoking
good point.
Mirrors part of it, or was Smoking Mirrors part of the film part? No.
No, they had their own thing going on, but they
Oh,
always
okay.
backed us up as well because they are the ones that filmed Blood in Your Hands, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
one of the I was asking about Smoke and Mirrors earlier because I remember going to a show that you all did there. It was powerful with all the other like bands from there. But one of the things that I brought the wallet out is because one of the things that I really like about XRF, the graphics, bro. The graphics were like super tight, you know, and they were like very well like done and like pieces of artwork. I mean, as an artist, it's
Yeah,
cool, you know?
man. Yeah, I know. That's why Fonz. We really wanted Fonz to be here. Like Fonz is the guy responsible for all that. You know, putting that
On
together.
Rubias, yeah.
Tezcatlipoca, like
I use that on my artwork as well too. So like
Yeah.
anything that covers like my artwork as well.
Orale. So let's talk a little bit about the artists behind like all the graphics for Chicano Records and Film because you know they were tight.
There, well, one is Jesus Torres, and along with Fonz, also Margaret Alarcon was part of XRF at that time in those with those CDs and that you know, the development of them and the design of them. But I mean, you know, Fonz and JT were instrumental in everything we did during that time. All of the events that were sponsored by XRF, all of the music that was released during that time, and you know, JT now and this new release that we're putting out, the Black Lives Matter 7-inch single, JT Jesus Torres, we call him JT, was also involved in that. He did the text for our Black Lives Matter and the Have-Nots. He did the graphic text.
The font.
Yeah, and Fonz, you know, he's the art director, man. He, you know, conceptualizes everything and puts everything together. And Caesar, you know, also has a lot of input in how these things, you know, come together, and it really is kind of a group effort all the way around. But we were hoping Fonz could make it, but he likes to ride motorcycles, and you know, sometimes on Sundays he, you know, goes on a run and doesn't come back till late, so he wasn't able to make it tonight. But you know, we are in just always in awe of you know, the way he puts things together. And those CDs are a prime example. They are art pieces,
Yeah.
and they are collages of, you know, people like Joe Galarza, amazing artist, as well as, you know, bass player for Aslan Underground. But I mean, there's so much amazing art in there, and Fonz just conceptualized. He had the idea for how this was going to lay out and look, and I mean, they're beautiful pieces for sure. And Joe,
Yeah, fun. No,
Yeah,
no.
that's one of my paintings actually.
Yeah, I recognize the style, Joe. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a trip because with Fonz, you know, he would like collage a lot of the work that I had and other artists that were participating in that. I mean, that's a pretty interesting painting because I don't know if you remember Barry Choswala, but he owns that piece. It's a huge painting, man, like as big as the wall back here or whatever. You know, it's real. Actually, it's a really heavy painting, and it's funny because he had to like anchor it somehow that it didn't fall on anyone, you know. But that's a trip. I haven't seen that painting for a long time. Wow.
Yeah, and so Fonz he oversaw all of the work. Like there, like you know, like Joe was always highlighted it, but with regards to putting it together, he would you know supervise the whole thing. Sometimes I know that you know there were situations where maybe we could have moved this or moved that, but it's really all the artwork that you see. The final product has been you know Fonz, and he takes so much pride and so happy to contribute to the community and the culture and the empowerment. I mean, he's just been like he's like the driving force behind you know all the graphics that you do. Like you see even with the flyers, like every year the flyers are designed by him. You know, like for the 4th of July. You know, for the um
well, JT too, though.
And Manny did a lot of the flags too.
Yeah, Manny.
yeah, early on, but the last I want to say the last you know 15 years it was like Fonz has been like you know what I mean. But that definitely and props to JT and Manny, but you know of course you know always, but the consistent force has been you know Fonz. I just want to give you know respect where respect is due. You know what I'm saying? That's all I just want to communicate with regards to Fonz. You know.
No, and
And
it's
you
really
did the subversive as well, I think too. You know, you did the
I was
I did some painting work on that, and then he collaged a lot of that work, and then that's where I think Quinto Sol and all the other bands started stepping in to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, you can tell that a lot of love went into it, right? A very like artistic eye, attention to detail. I was gonna bring out the CDs, but the CDs I have them on a CD changer. But even the artwork on the CDs, right? Like especially the Calpuli and stuff like that, it has like the Quetzalcoatl and stuff like that. But it was like really artistic and very well like thought out. It wasn't. You can tell that it wasn't about the money. It was about like you know, using the artifact as a way to express their artistic creativity. So that's pretty tight. So you brought Subversive. Let's talk a little bit about.
I don't know if you got the self-titled as well. Like me and Cacho actually designed that with another brother named Jose Cortez. You know, which Memo, you would also help us out with the graphics as well too. So we got to give credit to Memo as well too, right beyond XRF Fonz. You know, in a sense, because that was a lot of love put into that one too. You know?
Yeah, well, the self-title was really you and Gacho with Memo, no? Like the self-title, huh? Right?
And that's
For
the latest album that you guys put out, right? About
Yeah.
So
Also,
I wanna maybe like talk. I don't know if we can talk a little bit about Decolonize the Song. I think Decolonize the Song is one of the Chicano anthems of I will say my generation, our generation, right? Especially at the end, you know, like get the fuck out, get the fuck out, get the fuck, get the fuck, get the fuck out. But I think it's like really powerful in at a time where you know somebody mentioned Confused, And when somebody mentions confused, I always think of culture class, right? Confused and full of rage. That was one of the lines
Right.
from the thing. I don't know if you
Right.
remember that. But I don't know. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because especially like when we were fighting against HR 4437, that song we were like bumping it, because it's like really it talks about what's going on right now with immigration and the kissing cages and everything. That we are native. This is our land, right? And yeah, back in the day there was no borders and stuff like that, and we acknowledged that this is like Miwok descendant land. But like back then, if you were indigenous, you had the right and the freedom to move. So can we talk a little bit about that song, like who wrote it, and what it means to you guys?
Like that's beautiful that you bring out like the original territories, or like where you're zooming from, the Miwok. And so that's what's up, and that's exactly what it's about, like because when it was written because it was like after epiphanies of like having experience of being called a wetback, an illegal, a half breed. Like in my community, Silmar back in the day. Now it's all detribalized brown people, but it used to be half poor white Oklahoman and Arkansas descendants here. So that being said, there was a lot of racial tension, a lot of there were even the last day of junior high was always Patty Day, where you went against browns against white people, right? But anyway, so that when we were informed, or when we came to know that being Mexican meant that you were from the continent and you have a history here, and that it goes beyond borders. That's how that was written to highlight that, right? And so I think we had like I mentioned earlier, between 88 and 90, during the time when we met Bulldog, Bean and I had went up north, and I think I saw a flyer. Or we were at KPFA, and I saw I saw it written like on a flyer. We didn't cross the borders crossed us, and we're like, hell yeah, that's right. And I think it was. They tell me that I guess it was Burciaga who apparently coined that up there in back in the 70s. And so when we back down, we wrote the song, and we used that as a hook. And then when and in fact, that was actually when I mentioned that Iconoclast was part of my previous punk band, was part of Aslan. That was actually one of the first songs we did. In fact, the second singer of Iconoclast was Boricua, but he knew he was Taino. He was half white, half Boricua, Puerto Rican, and so he helped actually write the first stanza. Ahu heads on the scene with a vengeance. No man or law can end this. So by the time we started getting together with Bulldog, that the idea of the song had already been kind of like marinating, and so we crystallized it. I think we even tried. I think we did it at first like a hip hop version, right, B-Dog? I think we did it a hip hop version, and then we ended up going up north, and we ended up playing with Aslan Nation, and then Aslan Nation. We played with them, and we were like, "What? There's an Aslan Nation?" And I know they were like, "What? There's an Aslan Underground?" I know they were like, "What?" We're always like, "What?" Like, and then we performed together, and then they had a song called that goes, "I didn't cross the border crossed me," And then, but we're like, we didn't cross the border crossed us. So after that, there was like beef, like, "Fool, you jacked my lyrics." Like, "Fool, you're jacking." Like, we never met you before. How can we jack your lyrics? So it just happened to be that way, right? And but we continued, and
Zool.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Zool.
Zool.
Esteban Zoo, yeah, Esteban
Yeah,
Zoo.
vos de mil tequilazo. Hell yeah, Zool, man. And and what you call it? Um,
Dope MC.
so yeah. So then anyway, but then I wanna say that I think that we popularized that because and like everyone, like you'll hear Eva, what's her name, the actress says it, it came out in Bobby the
Yeah.
movie, it came out in Machete, right? And we're always getting texts or direct messages. They use your they use your your lyrics in the movie. They use your lyrics in she Eva Longoria, like she said it on George Lopez, and but really, it's a movement phrase, really, but I want to say though that we did. I believe that we popularized it. You know what I'm saying? And
I think so too, bro.
yeah, so and that's very interesting, and thank you for bringing it up, because like a lot of people don't really recognize that or acknowledge that, so thank you very much. I mean, because it's not about trying to be credit people or whatever, but that's what's up. Thank you very much.
No,
Appreciate
no,
that.
a lot of us were bumping the song, and since it came out, and a lot of us were rocking the shirt. Like I think my black shirt became like gray. I used it so much, I loved it. I was just joking with Boulder back then. I was a large. Now I'm a 2X, bro. So 20 years later,
I mean, it's interesting, right? That song is interesting because as we wrote it, like, I mean, it was one of the strongest songs. It was one of those catchphrases of like anthems, right? And then when we played it at Standing Rock, that's where it shifted for me in a way. Is that all these years I've been playing it for so long, and then when we played it that day, I realized why we wrote that song and how relevant it was to the times of why we were singing it and playing it at that moment in time in history within the Standing Rock movement.
yeah,
It made us all cry, dude. It made us all cry.
Yeah.
I'm getting chills. But I wanna let people know, like, go on YouTube and check out that performance. I mean, like, whoever videotaped it, I think it was videotaped with a drone or something like that.
Yeah, it's real raw, but
It's
the heart is there
beautiful
though.
the way it's like set up, like the lights are shining on you guys, and the song sounds beautiful. Which leads me to the next thing. We mentioned the shirts. So I want to talk about a new song that you guys have. I have the video that is queued to go. So I don't know if you want to set it up and tell us a little bit about your work with BLM right now and why the song Black Lives Matter was produced and came out, and maybe talk a little bit about Black and Brown solidarity.
No, absolutely. Like we have to give props to Ethan, who's our guitarist, who's not on with us right now. Chavito brother with a really good heart. He I want to say like over almost 2 years ago, we're writing music, but not writing lyrics per se. And he suggested, hey man, like we need to like address this. We need to put this out there. Why don't we do a Black Lives Matter song, or something that addresses it. And then to be honest with you, Richard Montoya, Culture Clash, he had invited like me personally to be part of their I think they had a commemorating their existence event at there's like a performance venue at Cal State Northridge. So he had me get together with this really excellent guitar pianist and this vocalist, this woman, so we put together a piece that was about Black Lives Matter. And so when Ethan, so I had written a little bit of it, those lyrics for this piece, but when Ethan brought that up, it was already something that had been written, and then Bulldog contributed. Ethan wrote his part, and the point was to address how important it is for us as brown people, as indigenous people, to acknowledge uh, the impunity that the police have in murdering black people just for being black. And while these these types of murders happened on the reservations and happened in Navajo, um, we needed to focus on that on black lives, so that we can show to the world that we are all in this together, and we've always been in it together, fighting white supremacy, whether there's slavery that imposed on Africanos coming here, and or in our occupation of indigenous land. And so it was real important to show that solidarity and the power that is in that, right? Anytime that they kill revolutionaries, like Malcolm X or MLK, Fred Hampton, it was always when they came to the point of understanding that it's all about all of us in this together. And so that's why that's so important for us to put this out, and and lock arms, because we're in this together, and that's how it was born.
Chico, I'm gonna play the video, and then you guys can talk a little bit about like the video, like who did it and all that. So let me go into share screen. Can you guys see my YouTube window here?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the video of the song Black Lives Matter that was just released on last Thursday. So for those that haven't seen it, ahí les va.
From the aftermath, showing the bravery of a little girl who witnessed the shooting. Here's Mario Villarreal. Moments after Philando Castile was shot by former officer Geronimo Yanez, you see a 4-year-old little girl being coaxed out of the back seat by a second officer. The girl's mother and Castile's girlfriend Diamond Reynolds was sitting in the front seat streaming the aftermath on Facebook Live. The mother and the girl were both placed in the backseat of a patrol car. Reynolds was handcuffed, clearly upset.
It's okay, I'm right here with you. The young girl comforts her mother. Mom, please don't sit because of the screen because I don't want you to get shooted. I can keep you safe. I can't believe they just did that. I wish this town was safer. I don't want it to be like this anymore.
The pair pray, unaware Castile has died.
Please, Lord, tell us, give us a sign that Phil is okay. Please, Lord, I just need a sign.
I tell God that we need him right.
No matter what they ever do to us, we must always act for the love of our people and the earth. We must not react out of hatred against those who have no sense.
Feelings as simple as that. Black lives matter to give it back. Get black lives under attack. Cause racism is still intact. We are family. On this earth, mother. Discriminated system that runs my mother. Beauty in the USA is the system. KKK, old Jim Crow is the new Jim Crow. King of the bands in the audio is systemic. Endemic, epidemic. And therefore, let's don't check the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Check the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Check the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Check the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. streets of every suburban block. What could be the blind must see? What could be the blind must see? Black Lives Matter. Change the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Change the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Change the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Change the policy and the police. Otherwise, no justice, no peace. Parade will return for our humanity as we flourish in the lives lost. I'm a son of war. That easily fucked Stop the blood. Stop the the given fact.
That was powerful, bro. You want to talk about like who did the video and all that? When I first saw it on Thursday, Mandy, Bulldog's lady, sent it to me and to a few of us. And man, like the first minute was like powerful. Like I'm not gonna lie, I almost cried when the little girl told her mom, like, you know, to come down because she didn't want the cops to shoot her. So I mean, that first like minute is like so like powerful, and it sets the stage for the video. So I don't know if you want to talk to us a little bit about the video and like who made it and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son, Yout, his name is Yout, Ten Eagle, and he made the video. You know, he had been doing videos because he's an artist in his own right, and always puts out videos. But he had committed to filming it, and directing, trying to direct like the parts where we're live, but with our ideas too as well. Where he filmed us, but also and also editing it, right? So he meticulously was like weeks just like editing and but it was with like ideas that Gacho had, like about the rain and all that, and but it came together, and it's been a long it's been a very, very long process. He did a lot of work, and he did it with all his heart, and he showed us a first version, but then we asked him, oh, can you include this, or can we do that, and he came back, and he and this is what his final product. I mean, I was also too, I felt the same. I felt like the intensity of the first part, then when it goes into the music video, I almost felt like, damn, I'm so sad I can't even get into the video because it's so real, but I think that's the point, right? We want to bring to the forefront the how outrageous these murders are. They're murders just going on and on, so that was the whole point, and I think it accomplished that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to hear your feedback, Chico.
No, it's powerful, bro. So I know that this song is gonna be part of a limited edition 7-inch vinyl that is coming out pretty soon. You all are taking orders. So this is in side A and side B is the haves and have-nots. And
Yes.
there's also like packages, you know, like pulga style, right? Package A, package 1, 2, and 3. So I'm gonna show the website where people can order. Maybe Frankie can take over and announce, like, you know, like in Sábado Gigante, this is what you can get.
Yeah, good. Go for it.
All right, so here it is. This is the website. The website is aslanunderground.online/shop. So Frankie, you wanna tell us about these 3 bundles that you guys have?
Yeah, so the first bundle is a 7-inch single, and we're going to include stickers. The second bundle is the 7-inch single, stickers, and a T-shirt, the OG T-shirt that says "We didn't cross the borders, borders crossed us" on it, on a black T-shirt. Beautiful. And then the third is the 7-inch single, the T-shirt, stickers, a pin done by Second Wind Studio, and a what is that thing called again?
A stencil?
Stencil.
A stencil that you can spray paint the logo wherever you want. So get creative, and you really get a lot in that bundle for $60. Again, on red vinyl, and the artwork on the cover was done by Joe Galarza, an original piece that is only going to be printed on this cover. And you know, these are things that I think really are collector's items, because they're only going to be 300 pressed. And also, as you look at this image right here of the single, you see the Black Lives Matter text that was done by Azteca One, or Azteca Graphics, and that's Jesus Torres. You can find his stuff online. I'm looking for, damn, I don't have my mask right here, but he does a really cool LA native graphic that he's doing on hats and on masks and t-shirts. But yeah, man, there are only going to be 300 of these 7-inch singles pressed, and they're going to go fast, very fast, because you know, we haven't released anything in a couple of years. So you know, and this is the first vinyl release from Aztlan Underground and Chicano Records and Film. So you know, get them while you can, because they're gonna go fast.
All right, so they're $30, $50, and $60. Again, you can go to aslanunderground.online and you can purchase any of these items there. Again, under Chicano Records and Film. And one of the things that you guys were talking about is that this is the first of a few releases on vinyl, right? You talked about that you're going to release your first album, Decolonize, on vinyl eventually, and also Subversives on vinyl eventually. One of the things that I read is that some of this money is going to be donated to causes. Did I read that correctly?
Yes. So we're going to donate a portion to Black Lives Matter.
LA.
Black Lives Matter LA, and the rest of the proceeds, I believe, are going to go towards pressing those other records, and whatever else we can do with the money, because I think that this is the whole purpose of doing this is to, you know, kind of continue what we started many, many years ago. And that is, you know, being a collective record label that releases conscious music and gives opportunities to conscious artists.
Yes.
So, you know, going forward, that's the vision for this whole project.
And these are pre-orders. We want to let people know that they're pre-orders. They're not going to get the physical bundle until mid-October, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're actually looking, it may be not until November.
yeah.
Yeah, and we need to change that actually on our website, because we just got an update that it is looking more like November. So again, you know, I kind of went through this with I'm still waiting for a pre-order. I pre-ordered the Run the Jewels. I don't know if you know Run the Jewels, but I pre-ordered their new album on vinyl, and you know, I pre-ordered that like 2 months ago. I'll maybe supposed to get it next month, so we'll see. And you know, like Yao was saying, everything's backed up because that plant burned down. You know, there were only a couple of plants, I think, in the U.S., and one of them went out of business and the other one burned down. So you know, everybody is struggling to produce vinyl right now, but we felt it was really important to go forward with this no matter how long it took, because you know, it's what we want to do going forward, funding, you know, other projects and getting good music, conscious music out there.
And you were telling me that this is going to be pressed in Japan.
Yes.
Cool. Hopefully, it'll be kind of cool to get it around Dia de los Muertos, you know.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It'll be like a really nice like time to get that album, and also to, like, you know, honor all our African American siblings that have been murdered in cold blood by the police, you know. Anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to say before we end the session? Anybody have anything that you want to convey to any listener or viewer?
One thing I wanted to mention is that we also have like 3 other albums on deck, you know, prior to this one releasing. You know, we're going to be releasing an album that me, Yao, and Gacho actually worked on. It's more of a post-punk, experimental kind of jazz elements to it, a punk in it, you know, and so on. Record, as well as a full tribal record with the Unearth, Aztlan Unearth. It's all tribal with wet flutes, drums, rattles, all of the native instrumentation, as well as this new record that we're working on with Ethan, our new guitar player. That's where this song kind of comes into play with the new lineup. So we're writing a whole new record with this lineup right now as well.
And that's cool. That's one of the things that I really admire about Aztlan Underground, all the different components that make the group that come together. And it's kind of cool how you are like separating them and creating all these projects, because, you know, I think that people love different things, right? Like one of my favorite elements is that Indigena element, you know, like with the huehue and the flautas and all that, you know, and of course with the whole band. But it is cool that, you know, you have all these fusions coming in, because in reality we are that, right? We are a fusion of different elements that came together to create, you know, the Chicanos, you know.
Definitely. Thank you.
You know, we of course we don't want to associate with certain things. You know, we pick the stuff that has been denied to us. But at the end of the day, I think that we are who we are. You know, and it's beautiful you get to manifest that. You know, especially right now. Like, I don't want to get into politics right now, because, you know, everything we're talking about is politics. But, you know, like, there's a word on the identity of Chicanismo. So, you know, like, we live it at that. But I'm glad that, you know, 30 years later, you guys are still Chicanos, and, you know, we're still like going forward. You mentioned Culture Clash. You know, here in Sacramento, we have the Royal Chicano Air Force, who Jose Montoya that passed away is the father of Richard Montoya.
Yes, yes.
He always said, bro, you
Definitely.
know, like I'm gonna be a Chicano until I drop. And they fulfill that. You know, my mentor Ricardo Favela, who was his mentee, said the same thing. And you know, he died a Chicano, and you know, we are on this road, man, for life, regardless of what is in fashion to call ourselves. You know, the work needs to get done, and we need to do it. So I appreciate everything that you're doing. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything else before we close the session.
Well, I just, you know, just wanted to thank you, you know, for inviting us and you know, and that, you know, decolonizing is a trajectory, right? And we even re-examine even our early works because we evolved to understand that that it's a process to take off these layers like of an onion, if you will, of how colonialism has, and we've internalized it, right? And an example of that is how like I wrote a critique a couple years ago about Aslan and Aslan because there's some old school Chicano heads that put out a flag that has like borders that are over the Southwest states, and in our history and playing different reservations and from Diné to you know to in the Tohono O'odham areas to Hopi to even going up Standard Rock, people trip on the idea of Aslan because they think that it means that we want to take over people's land because of this flag, right? That this one organization and this one person puts out. They all reference this flag, right? And in our decolonizing process, we understand that have put declaring a flag and these territorial maps of cutting up the land is a very Western European understanding of the land, right? And that also negates and uh, gives erasure to the original inhabitants here, right? But so Aslan, you know, I'm not gonna lie that initially we had this idea of the Treaty of Guadalupe, Hidalgo, and those territories, but you know we come to the realization that that Mexico was a colonial power, even if it did um, declare independence in 1821. It's still from 1821 to 1848. It still was 26 years of imposing like Spanish colonial rule on indigenous peoples here. So we don't embrace that idea of Mexico and reclaiming that either, right? And so Aslan for us just represents a migration, right? That we're a migratory people, and that we survived the Spanish colonialism, and we're currently living under English colonialism, but that we're still indigenous and we're still, like you said earlier, Chico, that we're migratory. We've been here, and we're part of this continent. So I just wanted to. That's why sometimes also we refer ourselves to Anahuac Underground to dispel that idea, right? Is that we're Anahuac, you know, and Nahuatl means, you know, land between two waters, meaning that it acknowledges the continent, not necessarily these territorial definitions that some people are putting on. But you know, so I just want to talk about that. But thank you very much. I hope that.
Yeah, no, it's a fact that you know the Ute Aztecan people existed, and you know, like the U.S. Southwest and all the way to Mexico. You know that the languages are related. You know, from the Utes of like Salt Lake City, from Utah, all the way to like, you know, if you were to migrate like from here through like Sonora is Ute Aztecan languages, right? Through Nayarit, where Mfama is from, you know, the Dakota Nation and the Huichol Nation, that they're part of that language group. So, you know, so there was like migration back and forth. So yeah, no, I totally agree. And but you know, we we have a job to do, man.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
all these things that are coming into play are distracting us from the real job. So
Right.
so once again, man, I appreciate all the music that you have created, you know, throughout the years. They're the soundtrack to my generation. You know, I'm 44, so like, you know, we were bumping us underground when we were like organizing, you know, farm workers and inner city youth and youth conferences and all that. So, you know, at a show that happened at UC Davis, one of my homegirls, she is a professor there now. Her name is Lorena Marquez, and Lorena got her PhD from San Diego, and like she loves Aslan Underground. So Frankie happened to be at that opening. I go, hey Frank. I go, hey Lorena, this is my homie Bulldog from Aslan Underground. And right away she goes, wow. It goes, I teach my Vlad is read in all my classes. You want to come to my class? But you know, like, you know, but there is that connection, man, and that connection is undeniable, man. You guys are pioneers when it comes to like, you know, to I don't know what the label, you know, there's different labels, but you know, let's go with Chicano, like hip hop rock, you know.
Yeah, man.
There's a big umbrella, you know, like rock en español includes like ska and reggae, and you know,
Yeah.
and you guys encompass a lot of that. So, you know, I don't know, Bulldog, you have anything else to say, Cacho, Cesar?
Just all I would like to say is thank you so much for doing this. I think you know, you do just amazing work across everything that you do, and you know, I've always you know, I'm always impressed with everything that you come up with, because I mean, you've done so much for the community, that you know, from scholarships to organizing to having your posters donated at every critical event, you know, and not just in Sacramento, but I remember the Standing Rock poster that you did that was distributed out there at Standing Rock. And I mean, you're an amazing artist in your own right, and you know, just thank you so much for including us in this series, and look forward to doing more stuff with you in the future.
Good.
Thank you too, Chico, and thank you for all the work that you do as well. And we really appreciate you helping us in a lot of ways in this way, you know, to promote our work, that we're still doing work, you know, after all these years, you know. So thank you.
Un placer, compa.
I'm here. We had never met, but you know, they speak of you with such high honor. You know, like it's a blessing to finally meet you, and you know.
I think we have met, Cacho, but back then I had like long dreadlocks, bro.
Oh, okay.
We got kicked there, bro.
Yeah.
I remember I had like big ass dreadlocks back in the day.
Yeah.
Un placer, Cacho. You know, something that the times that I met you, man, you have always been like really humble, and you know, you're a badass drummer, bro.
That's him, bro.
Thank you. Coming from you, that means a lot. You know, thank you.
Cesar, anything else you want to say, bro?
He also picks up
Thank
after
you.
us.
Thank you, brother, for giving us this opportunity. And if you guys want to find out more information about, you know, XRF or AUG, you know, you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook.
Chido, and they can go to the website, Aslan Underground, that online, and they can like pre-order any of those bundles. So let's support these brothers. They have been putting it down for 30 years, and you know, they have plans to release new material. So you know, I think that we need to disseminate and amplify, you know, their music and their politics, because at the end of the day, you know, they're like Chicanos like us, and we need to support each other. So go to the website and order that. Peace out, homie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys.
Thank you. Lasso.